Welcome to the MFR Coaches podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. This week's episode, we're going to continue on with last week's podcast episode, talking to Gina Knox and members of the Mastermind who joined us live in Austin. Enjoy the show. Okay, another thing we talked about today is how do we get client results and how do we get outstanding client results? And I can't remember who brought this up today, but we were talking about, now I remember the conversation. It was like getting to a certain point with a client for whatever reason and wanting to refer out versus deciding that you can help the client. And I think this is a common problem. This happens all the time at every level. And it related back to, though, the capacity ceiling, right? So maybe you're uncomfortable, like a client is coming in a lot, they're paying you a lot of money, they're getting a lot of sessions, they've been seeing you for 6 months, and they keep paying you money and they keep wanting to see you, and you keep offering out of your own discomfort because you're at your capacity ceiling to refer them out. Like awareness around that. That was a big aha, don't you think?
Yeah.
And so the other thing that ties into that is, do I need more training, like more skill training, if I want to serve all of the clients or to get expert client results? Do I need to have expert level training? And I just want to be really clear. I think people should take the seminars and like get all the training you need. I'm not saying don't take the seminars, but there's this part where, do seminars make you expert or does client treatment make you expert? I'd be like curious about some of your guys' opinions on that. We have a lot of experts in the room.
I think it's definitely a combination of both. So we go to the seminars, we get treated, we do the SCS was super helpful, right? And as well as the T for T. But it's really, a lot of it is client time on the table and just getting more hours and getting my hands on more clients and then seeing what their results are based on, because I'm doing this. So I think both are really important. But in terms of my confidence level, it's me seeing the results of what I'm applying that I learned in the seminars.
So your client's time on the table, you treating them, not you learning another skill to enact on the client.
Right. Because that's just, it's helpful if I feel like, I need to brush up or something. But I would say me treating and me connecting and me using the MFR on people and then them coming back and saying, hey, I feel better, or like, that's really, I think, where the juice is.
And did you have an aha moment today, like around?
Yes, that was me that Heather was talking about.
You're like, this isn't a leading question.
Yeah.
Did you
Was that you by chance? Did you want to share anything else?
Yeah, it was, it's a client who's been seeing me and she's had an issue for 30 years. And so she's getting a lot of treatment with me and she's finding it helpful and she keeps coming back.
You're trying to give her away.
I'm trying to give her away
You're
because
uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable that she's giving me money, but it's helping her. But there's gets to be this point. I'm like, we've only been working together for 6 months.
Yeah.
So 6 months to fix 30 years.
It's like this much time. Yeah.
So it's like, what am I expecting of myself? But I didn't realize that I was trying to give her away.
Yeah.
Like,
you thought you were trying to help her.
Right. I'm like, oh, well, you should do this and this and this. Or you can just continue to get treatment with me and do these other things if they're helping you. Yeah. So that was a big aha. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I think it's so great that you are, for everybody in the room, coachable to like stick with it, the discomfort, because it doesn't feel good when you're getting
Oh, I felt cornered. I was like a deer in headlights. I'm like, What?
I was like, I got this, pounce.
Yeah, it was a big aha. And I've had a couple of those today.
Yeah. It's so good. And I'm like so excited for you, but more so for your client that you're going to be the one taking responsibility for her, like for getting her to the goal, because you do know enough and you do have enough, like you're enough. It's enough.
And that's the big thing, right? It's like, am I enough? Can I help her? Can I be the one?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
And it's okay for you to have doubt. Like you're a human, right? It's okay for you to at some moments be like, is this safe? Like, is it safe for me to be making this much money? Is it safe for me to be saying that I can help these people? I mean, the skills that we have create miraculous results. That's why we do what we do. That's how we get sucked in the beginning. And to be able to pass that on to somebody and really give them the relief that they're looking for, even if it takes time, 6 months over 30 years is a blip, you know?
Yeah.
It's a blink of an eye.
Yeah. So thank you for coaching me not to give her away.
Yeah. She wants you.
She wants me.
Yeah.
And I can help her.
And we were saying too, like the unintentional discomfort you may cause your client when you show up that way too, of like, why is she continuously trying to push me out? Like, does she not like me?
Is it wrong that it's taking this long?
Right. Like versus when you as a client come into a treatment room and the person is grounded and calm and assesses you and like takes you through it, you feel held. It's such like a better experience for both of you.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when we're not wondering, when we're not worried if our client likes us or not, likes the treatment or not, is going to have a healing crisis or not, is going to leave us or not, when we're not in those models and we're just in the model of I can help her.
At least today, right now.
Today, right now, I'm going to help her in this hour. You're showing up in a much different energy, like expert energy in the room. Like you're there to help. And the client just gets to client. And it's just much better situation for everybody.
Can we talk about that? Let the client be a client.
Yeah, it's my favorite new thing to say.
What does that mean to someone who's like, what does that mean?
Well, letting your client means that the client does not have to come committed, does not have to do home exercises the way you prescribe them, does not have to do anything other than hold up their end of the bargain to where like they make their appointment, they pay for their appointment, they show up to their appointment. And outside of that, it's kind of none of our business. We treat the client, we understand their goals almost better than they do. And we hold them in our container, in our room, in the treatment session, and we give it our all. And they don't have to do anything other than those things, pay, show up in order to get that treatment. And I just think it takes the pressure off of a client needing to be a best fit client. And yeah, we talk about best fit clients and some best fit client behavior, especially when like you're beginning your business. But for these people that are in the room, like we've moved beyond needing clients to be best fit, and any client, we can make them best fit. And now I'm not saying like if they're inappropriate or whatever, like I'm saying appropriate clients that pay and they show up and they go within your policies, whatever they need, we're going to get that for them during that time frame. And I think it just takes the pressure off of anyone needing to be any different than who they are and what they need in the moment.
So you and I, we went to the same life coach school. And they teach us this in life coach training as well.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. I'm just having this realization of like,
wait a minute, is that where I got that?
Maybe we accidentally stole this.
Yes.
No,
Sorry.
But they teach us like, don't have expectations.
Yeah.
It's not your business what happens after the call. And I think a lot of what they hammer into our brain is like, whether they get a result or not is not your business. Don't let your ego get in the way. And a lot of times as life coaches, we want to solve.
Oh my God, our job is not to solve the problem.
I know. Our job is not to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Our job is just to show them their brains. And we want to have the ego boost because we're humans of I solved it and they give me all the praise and they love me and they're so happy. But like you might have a client who you have one session with and you may never hear from them again. And it doesn't mean anything. You could have changed their life. One of my life coach teachers said, bad models change lives. Models meaning like the tool that we learned in that school.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's very similar vibe, right?
Bad treatments can change lives.
Yeah.
Like people that get a healing crisis that think that we have the perception that they think that the treatment was bad or not good enough also changes lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the client who only comes one time and then never comes again. Maybe that changed their life. You would never know. I've had so many clients in my business who I could have easily thought hated me only to find out later I completely changed their lives for the better. And I'm sure there's other clients out there who will never come back and tell me the impact I've had on them. And it's none of my business. It's really just none of my business.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Do you guys feel like you can do that with patients? Like be like, whatever happened for them is none of my business? Or do you feel like it's more intimate because you're like touching them? And is there more attachment because of that? I'm asking myself that too. What do you think, Megan? Do you think that when there's more of a more intimate relationship, like you guys are therapists that touch your clients, we're giving like the example of life coaches who are taught to, it's none of our business, like the result they get from the coaching. Can you guys apply that in your business, and would it be helpful?
I feel like I do apply that in my business. I mean, you set that as the foundations.
You're like, I do what you say.
I do.
Megan's like, I'm already doing it.
Megan does what you say.
I did. I spent a lot of time going through past coaching calls before I opened. John also says, detach from the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
I do the evaluations. Yeah, I can do that in pretty clean energy. Do I want patients to get better? Absolutely. Right?
You care deeply.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I set the intention before every single patient comes in, they're going to get exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a healing crisis. We celebrate healing crisis.
Yeah. Right. It's a good thing.
It is.
It's a breakthrough.
Yes, it is.
What's a healing crisis?
It's when you feel, remember when I treated you the first time and I was like, you might feel like kind of flu-like.
Oh, and then the next day
you were like,
bad.
oh,
Yeah.
I feel terrible. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me it was going to happen, so I wasn't mad.
I was like, I'm so happy for you. You're probably like, you're weird.
And I'm like, I have a headache.
I'm like, yep, it's perfect.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I love it. I mean, some of this stuff I feel like I take for granted. Like I take for granted that you came for coaching before you opened.
But even when I was supervising at the hospital, I applied a lot of your stuff there and got to practice it and help other therapists and let it ripple out that way.
It's very interesting. We should do a case study, like a separate podcast, like a case study on people who have gone through like foundations before opening, and like wonder how much money you save yourself from doing that.
Yeah.
And like, what is your income trajectory?
Yeah, could be interesting.
That'd be interesting.
I bet you could find the data too.
Yeah, we can find the data.
Yeah. But it's not all about financial. Like it's
time.
It's
not. It's time
it's
too.
family. Like I apply.
Time is money.
It is. It totally is.
Yeah.
But everything we learn in Foundations and Mastermind this weekend, I apply to my family. So that's why I'm here, for my family.
Yeah.
And to let it all rip it out.
Well, and I love too how like all of the things we talk about do translate into our personal lives. And, I hired my first coach was a business coach, but it changed me so much. I was just like, oh, it changed me as a person. So I show up as a different mom, I show up as a different wife, show up as a different daughter, like in all aspects, different friend. Cause I'm not constantly like, life isn't happening to me. I am happening to my life, which is totally different.
And then I get to teach my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
And you'll teach them just through example. Like they'll notice.
Mm-hmm.
They will really notice. They're little sponges.
Little sponges. Yeah.
Anyone else feel like they can accept what we were just saying, right? It's none of your business what happens after.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay either way, I think.
I guess early on in Foundations, we really talked about like not getting on the roller coaster of like client praise or negative. And I think it's harder to not accept the accolades.
Yeah.
Because that feels amazing. But really, it is none of our business once they leave. I mean, sure, it's a little more personal because we're touching them and we care. And I mean, that's that way in a lot of things, but I hate roller coasters and they always make me sick. But it's hard to get on the positive rolling coaster.
So do you mean like being dependent on like the client needing to tell you that everything is good and like they're getting a great result versus like...
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear that, but I can't change how I treat if I get that or I don't get that.
Right.
Like you just have to keep your ship going.
Yeah.
Not that you don't take feedback, but I can't depend on negative or positive feedback of what the client is achieving as a measure of who I am as a therapist.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
you
like-
give your power away, right? You're like putting
It's
your...
dependent on what someone says or does then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
super precarious position.
Right.
But to your point, it does feel great when someone gives you positive feedback.
Yeah. Which is fine. And it's fine to like it too. But I think it's really healthy to be like, and I'm back to neutral and I'm treating my next client. Right? And whatever happens in here is not dependent on how much this other client likes me or doesn't like me. Yeah.
Totally.
Hey, therapists, listen up. You're busy. Your schedule is packed. You don't have time for a 5-day class just to figure out how to raise your rates. So I made it easy for you. Join me for a 1-day masterclass, Raise Your Rates in 2025 Without Losing All Your Clients, on February 24th at 2 p.m. Central. In just 1 day, you'll learn how to calculate your rate based on real facts and data, simplify your sessions so you stop leaving money on the table, and confidently sell your services without discounting. By the end of this class, you'll feel clear, confident, and ready to raise your rates with zero fear and less drama. And the best part, it's free. Bring a friend and let's do this together. Register now at www.themfrcoach.com/rates. That's www.themfrcoach.com/rates. We'll see you there. Do you guys have any things you guys want to talk about or any questions you want to ask me and Gina?
I always like to post too. Any nosy questions?
Yeah, nosy questions are good too. Can really put us on the spot.
How did you two meet?
Okay, so I remember this day before I hurt my back and I was working out all the time. I was really listening to a ton of podcasts, and one of my friends recommended that I listen to, I think it was to your podcast, or
It was DL's.
Actually, I was listening to DL's, and you guys
It was our
did a
two-parter.
podcast together, and that's, yes. Okay. So I was listening to DL, who I was planning to coach with, and she was interviewing Gina, and they just did this. It was just like kind of a shoot in the shit.
We did a
Podcast.
two-part money deep dive.
Talking about all kinds of things. And I was like, oh, I think I really need a money coach. Like, money is like a missing piece of my puzzle. And it's always been something that was like the most uncomfortable aspect of my business too. And I thought, I have a good handle on money, but do I really? Right. And so I started following you. I started listening to your podcast. One of my friends, Jennifer, recommended, like, had joined your program and told me. Then I told Sarah about Gina. And then all of a sudden I was in your program. And then I was having a lot of success in the program. And so I then signed up for your mastermind and had an in-person, it was like, there was like a bonus for being in her mastermind to go fly to San Antonio.
No, here.
No,
Oh no,
San Antonio.
That first time I forgot that.
And I met Gina in person.
We did a full VIP day.
A whole day, 8 hours, just me and her. And it changed the landscape of my finances, both in my business and personal. And I was in the middle of launching foundations and the mastermind for the first time. And I think I had almost a $200,000
You were just
month.
getting bing, bing,
Yeah,
bing.
like everything was going. And I was so glad. I had never made money like that in my life ever, especially in a month. And I was so glad that we had just had that conversation, because I knew exactly where all of that money was going and what to do with it. And I wasn't afraid, and I didn't then go and overspend. And I still have some of that money, which is amazing. Yeah.
2 years later.
I just got goosebumps thinking about that. And you were there too.
I was there
Yeah.
too. You didn't just tell me, you said you need to go and sign up.
I was like, you should sign up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that also
And I did.
introduced Gina to MFR therapists. And now speak to that a little bit about MFR therapists in your group, because it's becoming it's kind of blowing up.
It's a little MFR contingent. So we became fast friends on that VIP day, I think over lunch, because we both had a boozy cocktail at lunch and had a 2-hour lunch.
Yeah.
And then we had dinner that night as well. And I think you and I both can chat all night. So that was fun. So that kind of introduced me a little bit to MFR through you. But then that summer, was it that summer?
Yeah, it was the next month.
Yeah, we were in New York together for a mastermind that we were a part of. And we were there. And I remember being like, okay, Heather, what is MFR? And she's like, myofascial release therapy. And I'm like, what is fascia? She's like, it's this thing in your body. And she's like, she did it way better than that. She said it way better than that. But this is my interpretation. My little cartoon brain is it's a thing in your body.
And you were like, ew,
I'm like,
gross.
okay. She's like, it's like a web. And I'm like, gross, there's a web in my body? And anyways, you gave me therapy that night
Yeah.
because I was feeling something, or
I think
maybe
you
I was
just
just
wanted to
curious.
feel it. Yeah.
I'm like, can you
You
do a
did-
therapy on
You
me?
said, will it work on me? I have no problems. And I was like,
Yeah.
girl.
So we went to your hotel room and you made me stand against a wall and you looked at me and you were like, your leg is short. And I'm like, that is so fucking weird. Okay. So then you did the thing on the bed and it did feel really nice. And then the next day I had a headache.
Yeah.
And so that kind of introduced me to what is MFR. And then it must have been a couple months later, like I came into your group and did a whole presentation.
Well, I think I had you like coach for me a couple of times.
I've co-coached for you a lot.
Yeah, and I coached for you. And then you came in and like did a training.
Presentation. Yeah.
And then people started joining your program.
Yeah. And then we had probably like 15 MFR therapists join at once.
Yeah.
So we had a whole barrage of MFR therapists come in at once, which was really fun. And I think because you and I are friends, we talk a lot about what is going on in the MFR community and kind of like as colleagues talk about what do we need to talk about? What do we need to coach on? What concepts do we need to create to help your clients and now my clients? And so, yeah, that's kind of like how we met and then how we became friends and then why we're here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think, Gina, you shared this with me before, like MFR therapists joining your program really switched the demographic from like online service providers to now
Brick
you
and
have
mortar.
a high level of brick and mortar,
Yeah.
which has caused you to have to get like even drill down
Well,
your concepts.
I think the MFR therapist kind of started the move to brick and mortar. And maybe that was a full year ago, or maybe a little bit more, a year and a half. And since then, I've renamed my program to Small Business Money School. And this doesn't just have to do with the MFR therapist who came, but I think it was a nice little push.
I mean, but they were the push.
I really have transitioned to focusing on more traditional small business. And now we have so many brick and mortar businesses in there and it's so fun. And we still have online businesses and service providers, but we have a lot of like a doggy daycare in
A sod
Honolulu,
farm.
a sod farmer. We have a dance studio in like Tulsa and a cleaning company in Toronto. Like,
Yeah.
it's really cool to see how that has shifted over the years. But yeah,
Well, and it's-
long-winded answer.
I also have seen a shift in my community, like the people that I coach that are also in your program, just what they get out of both programs when they have both together.
Yeah. Well, we have data.
Yeah, we have the data.
The clients who are in both of our programs at once make more money in your program by a long shot.
By a lot. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's really fun though to be able to, because it's not like I'm bringing every coach I know into the program to be like, hey, buy my offer.
You know
too.
a lot of coaches.
Because I know a ton of coaches,
Yeah.
but like your offer specifically, I think because it's a good match. And like I had such good results. I'm like, everybody needs this. This is like how I refer people. I'm like, I did this thing. It's amazing. Now everybody needs to do it. And even if you're not doing it, I think Gina comes in enough like into the program where people really get the benefit of, like you came in and you did a tax training last year,
And
like
they're
a
all
2-day
recorded.
tax training.
Yeah.
And people have questions now. And I'm like, have you watched Gina's tax training?
Yeah.
Like all of
They're
your questions
there.
will be answered in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
I love working with business coaches because business and money, it's like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Like I never really considered how valuable having a money coach was. Don't you guys think it's fun having a money coach here? Like you have a business coach, but then you also have a money coach. And also she's not an MFR therapist. So she's much more neutral about our MFR topics, right? Like she's just like, why is this a problem for you guys?
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just dumb. That's all. I'm just dumb.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
This question is actually for both of you. So Heather, I'm just curious, at what point in your business did you feel successful?
Ooh, good question. Okay. So in my MFR business, I just said this on your podcast yesterday. I remember having a conversation with my Aunt Judy, who I've always looked up to my whole life. She's very successful. Her and her husband are very successful. I remember calling her and being like, Aunt Judy, I have $2,000 in my business bank account. I am so rich. And I felt like what I considered success, like the bar was really, really low compared to like what I would say is success now. But I'm so thankful that I was able to feel it at every level. I always felt successful. And every time I made a change in my business, I just felt like I always up leveled. Even though like I tell people, I openly share this, like I never made 6 figures in my MFR business. I wasn't even close. I would have probably my last year, but I closed to become a coach and start a completely different business, right? To help you guys do that. Yeah. So I think early on, and especially more so when I transitioned from massage to MFR only, there was something about that transition and that change when I started doing MFR only. I started having to travel and leave my house and do things independently and, be a big girl out in the world. I was 30 years old, but I was just really coming into my own. I got married when I was 21 and I was pretty codependent. So I think traveling, doing the things, being able to financially support myself in my business to do all of the things that I wanted to do too. What about you?
I think very similar. I felt successful for different reasons all along the way. I remember my very first year in business, I had a program, a group that I called Real Talk Finance. It was $10 a month.
Oh.
And at the time it was on Marco Polo, but think of a Voxer group or a WhatsApp group. It was just a group where people could post a question at any time and I would just answer it. And I remember I got 10 people in that group in my first launch. And I was like, 10 people.
You're making $100 a month.
$100 a month. 10 people want to ask me questions. And I was elated. And it was so funny because I had no business doing this. I was working with a marketing copywriter at the time to try to sell it. And she was so embarrassed by how few people we got. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was
This is
so
amazing.
excited. I felt excited then. I felt excited when I my first packages, not even packages, my first hourly rate was $35 an hour. And I would travel to you. This was for local people in San Francisco. I would travel to you, or I would meet my clients at cafes for an hour for $35. And then I remember raising it to $100. And the first person who said yes, oh my God. And then I raised it to $200 and I was so excited. And then I jumped to a package of maybe 1,000 or something. And just every yes was so exciting. My husband and I had this joke. So he had this dream car that was a station wagon. And every time I would sign a new one-on-one client, I would tell my husband, I got a new one-on-one client. And he would say, honey, can we get the station wagon yet? And I'd be like, not yet. And then a couple years ago, we bought it. And then he keeps the joke going. So he now still says, honey, can we buy the station wagon? I'm like, we got the station wagon, honey. But I think that I really was excited by every little yes along the way. That's not to say there wasn't a lot of frustration. I remember being very impatient and very frustrated at trying to get to 100K. So the year before hitting 100K was really hard from an impatience perspective. And then I will also say last year is when I really felt, we were talking about this in the car. I'm like, I felt the most cash flow rich last year. And I looked at my owner's pay and I am paying myself more than what a VP level at the tech company I was working at before would be making. And I'm thinking about how hard it would be to get to the VP level of a publicly traded Fortune 500 company. And I'm looking at my friends who are peers who stayed in tech and they're now at group manager or director level, which is also incredibly hard to get to. And I'm like, they maybe have 5 to 10 more years ahead of them before they're at VP. And I'm like, I'm making that much money now as my take home pay. That's insane. So I feel like last year is when I really felt the cash flow, but I think I've celebrated every little yes along the way.
Every time Gina gets a sale, I feel like I get a text message.
No, I'm constantly everything.
And then it always has the little teary emojis because she's so elated, which is adorable.
Every time someone buys my program, I'm like, they want to work with me.
She's always surprised. So.
And I'm always constantly to this day, I'm like, Heather, you'll never guess a sod farmer joined my program. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is incredible. This is awesome.
You're like, okay, Gina, I know. You're like, I know.
I just want you guys, I celebrate the same way because I get a text message every time somebody joins my program. Like somebody joined today, right when we walked in, I was like, I just got a sale.
You tell me every time you sell the legal bundle,
I do.
I think we are really good at
celebrating,
not letting go of the magic.
Yeah.
Right. Of
you guys could do that every time you go to. Did somebody get a client that booked while we were masterminding today? Was that you got two? Megan got two. Last night. Okay. That's so fun. Every time your phone goes off, you got that scheduling software.
Yeah. Good question. That's
Very
fun.
Good. Yeah, that was fun.
Okay. This goes for both of you. What's the most important or the biggest thing that being a coach has brought to your life?
For me, it's definitely the skill of mind management and the ability to really look at life as like me happening to life instead of life happening to me. I think I had a lot more like victim mentality, even though I wasn't super victim-y. I think I had enough victim mentality that like I just didn't enjoy life at the level that I do now. And I still kind of have a personality where I'm a little bit like an Eeyore, you know, I'm a little bit like,
You look cranky.
oh. It's not even like cranky. It's just like irritated. Is that the same thing?
Yeah. No, that is different.
Yeah. But like,
Base level irritation.
yeah, base level. But then when I have awareness about that, it's like not actually a true thing. And I think sometimes it's just more of, I don't even know how to explain that, but acceptance of that, which I've gotten as a coach, like the skills of coaching have helped me to create that acceptance level of myself. And it's actually a goal for myself this year is to become even more like less apologetic, more me, and just like, here I am, world. And that's all come from coaching. That's one of the best skills I think I have. What about you?
I think for me, I was saying this on a podcast the other day. Someone asked me, Gina, you come across as really confident. Like, tell us how you got that confidence. Were you always that way? And I was like, I'm sorry to say this is not very helpful, but I've been confident my whole life. I've always had this big sense of self and this big sense of my life is going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
But I think coaching gave me a pathway for that. Before, I always just had the belief, but not the path. And it felt like, okay, like I have a good career in tech. I'm making good money. Like I had a 6-figure job out of college as a graduate, which is good money, but it was never like big. To me, even that still felt small. And I never knew how the hell I was going to, like, I didn't know what it was going to look like. I remember right before the pandemic, I was seriously considering a sabbatical just to like find myself because I was like, I don't know what there is out there, but I know there's something. And then I got pregnant. And so then we weren't going to do the sabbatical because I was going to get my paternity leave. and then I started coaching and then that kind of became the thing. So I never took the sabbatical, but I feel like coaching really gave me the tools to learn how to actuate my desires in a tangible way, not just in a like wishful thinking kind of way. It very much felt more wishful thinking and intangible before, even though I knew it was always there. So I feel like it's so tangible now. I'm like, I know exactly how to make anything happen. Even my goals like 10 years down the line, I know when I get there, I'll know how to make it happen.
I love that. That's so good. Hey, MFR therapists, have you protected your practice yet? Running an MFR business isn't just about helping your clients to heal. It's about protecting your business too. That's why I created the MFR Coaches Legal Toolbox, a complete set of lawyer-drafted, customizable templates to make sure your practice and website are legally protected and fully compliant. Here's the deal. We've got 2 essential bundles. The website bundle for just $199. It includes your MFR website's terms and conditions, privacy policy, and disclaimer, and the policies and contracts bundle for $499, with all the must-have forms like your client intake, welcome letter, HIPAA disclosures, and special consent forms. Want the best deal? Grab both bundles and save $100. You get instant access and every template is fully editable in Google Docs or Word. No more guessing if your paperwork holds up. I've got you covered. Ready to protect your practice? Head to the link in the show notes and grab your legal toolbox today. Because when your business is protected, you can focus on what matters most, helping your clients to heal. For a limited time only, when you enter the code podcast25 at checkout, you'll save an additional 25%. Enjoy. Who else has a good question? Or a bad one, like whatever.
Or a nosy one.
Or nosy one.
How do you deal with haters? Isn't a good word, but like as you get more successful, there's more people who maybe have more things to say about what you're doing that they may not agree with. How do you deal with that? Especially because we're trying to make MFR mainstream, right? And I love that goal because we have so many therapists that burn out because they're not making the money, but to something that Deidre said, you know, as healers, a lot of times we feel like we have to sacrifice and we can't make money. So how do you handle that?
Good question.
I could take a stab if you want.
Yeah. I mean, we can both do it. I have an answer for it.
Oh, you go first.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, I always have a coach. So I get coached on that when that comes up, and it does. Like I have people that email me things and I'm just like, thank you for sharing, letting me know you feel that way about me. That's so great. And I'm a human, right? So sometimes like it does startle me a little bit, but I think because of being a coach and having a coach and not knowing how to process that and not ignore it or think that it's true or start believing it or whatever, it definitely helps me get through that. The other thing is because I'm so clear on my mission, making MFR mainstream and like really what that looks like and what that's going to take like more than 100 people a year to opt in to wanting to also make MFR mainstream by never under earning and burning out. It's going to take hundreds and hundreds of people opting in for this, right? So deciding that there's nothing wrong with the people that haven't joined yet. Is something wrong with how I'm saying it. And you've probably noticed over time, like my messaging changing, being flexible and being able to be like, okay, that maybe doesn't land. Maybe that's my goal, but maybe that's not other people's goal. Like the 100K sometimes I think is prickly to people. So you might have noticed my messaging has changed to get fully booked because I don't know anyone who doesn't want to be fully booked, right? Maybe they don't want to make 100K, but maybe they do want to be fully booked. And the consequence of being fully booked is that you're hopefully never going to under earn or burn out if you also follow some of my other methods. So being very clear on the mission and reminding myself daily if I need to, like, people do want this. I'm helping people every day, and it's okay for not everybody else to want to do it too. And it's okay for people to not like me. Like I just let them. Like that's been a big thing lately is like someone says something or they're mad at me, I'm just going to let them. Like I don't have anything to prove. I have a huge body of work that I think speaks for itself, and I'll keep speaking for myself too. I'm not going to go away. I'm here. And I'm here for the people that want my help, and people that don't want my help, I don't need to help them. It's totally fine.
Yeah. That's so good. Mine is more petty.
Okay. I mean, I could have a petty response.
Yours was too
too,
nice. So take what Heather said. Just listen to mine for entertainment. Don't do what I do. I'm going to take this from the perspective of my TikTok account, which may or may not be banned in the next 3 days. Heather knows all about this. So I have a TikTok account that's personal primarily. I post some business content on there, but not really. And I do this series where I start the video and I say, hi, my name is Gina. I want to be the best dressed mom at daycare pickup. So let's talk about my outfit and how much it all costs. So I'm already out the gate really pissing people off because people immediately interpret that as, why are you trying to compete with me? It's not a competition. And I'm like, I know it's not. It's a hook. It's social media. Play the game. Okay. Number 2, I send my kid to daycare. Oh, bad mom. Bad mom. Bad mom. The first time I did this, I got so many hate comments about how terrible of a mother I am. And then the third thing that causes people to get pissed off is I talk about how much stuff costs. And I wear expensive clothing, but I'm not going to lie. So I just say how much it costs.
And it's very matter of fact.
I just say, here's my earrings. I got them here. They were this much. Here's my pants. Here's where I got them. They were this much. My boots, I got them. They were this much. I don't like over explain it. People go crazy in my comments. And when I read the comments, I can feel the surge of like anxiety or the bubbling or it's like cortisol maybe in my body, flooding my body. I can feel it. And I've been working on trying to be better about this. The thing about me is I'm quick-witted, I'm fast, and I'm vicious. If you're vicious at me, I'll just be vicious back. And I am a Gemini, so I can just hit it and move on. If you're really nice to me, I will be so nice back. Like I will match your energy. So I've made a couple really snarky comments and I'll reply back. And we've talked about this, like the idea of wanting to get the last word. But recently I've just been writing the comments and then deleting them and then just letting it be. But at least knowing that if I had responded, my response would have shut them up because it was so good. But I do have to just let it go. Let it go.
Let them be wrong.
Let it go. Yeah, let them be wrong. Let them think what they want to think about me. And like also realize that they're reacting from their worldview. they may have such a different worldview than me. And so when they see my video, it might completely trigger something going on for them. Or it might feel, I get the tone deaf one all the time. Gina, you're so tone deaf. I also get money doesn't buy style, in which case I always want to respond, money also doesn't buy manners. But you just have to let people like be. I have to recognize that I posted something on the internet that they didn't even necessarily opt into seeing, right? The algorithm just pushed it in their face too. They were not necessarily opting in. So learning how to let people have their opinions and move on. It's been hard, but I've gotten really better. And now TikTok might be banned and it might be over. So it might not matter anyways.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it truly doesn't matter. I'm just a girl talking about clothing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In my business, I take a similar approach of like, let people have their feelings. And something about your question made me think that maybe this was the undertone, specifically when it comes to you becoming more successful than the group. Right? Like you're separating yourself as you become more financially successful, there becomes a separation. And there is a very human, very tribal need to want to be part of the group. And that can cause some tension. The thought I always have when it comes to my business is everything I'm afraid that somebody thinks about me, somebody's already thinking it. And I've survived. And most of the time, I'm sure every bad thing I've ever thought could possibly be thought about me, like, they're thinking it and I don't know about it. And like, here we are. Like, I'm sure there's someone who hates me online and I don't know about it and I don't care because it's just their opinion. And I'm sure I have thoughts about other people, right? And like, they don't have to know either. And just letting the people have the thoughts because I'm allowed to have my thoughts too. So I don't know. There's something beautiful for me about imagining that there's already people out there thinking the things I'm the most afraid of.
I feel like that's terrifying. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I am just going to let them do it. And I'm going to let go of my need to be right. Cause I really love being right.
Last word.
Love having the last word.
I will fight in the comments. It's so bad. I need to shut up.
I love it. I would really love it if everyone would like me, but it's not possible. And I don't like everybody. It's like, well, I don't want to have to like everybody. So I guess some people can just not like me. It'll be okay.
And I think the reason too, I say that like, I like to imagine that people are already thinking that is because people are already thinking that. And yet I'm still successful.
Yeah.
It hasn't harmed me. And if it hasn't harmed me thus far, it can't harm me in the future.
Yeah. It can if you let it, if you start. I think it's like that idea of like, how much airtime do you give this? And like when I've received emails, I've called you and been like, listen to this email, you know? And
like have a friend, let it vent.
Yeah, like
I'll
venting.
tell you the comments I want to post on TikTok. I want to say,
and I'm like, just tell me everything.
Yeah. And then you just got to let it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Heather did say to me the other day, she's like, Gina, I don't think, how did you say it? Like, I don't know if I like this version of you. You said something
I was like, I don't know if I
like this version of you.
Well, or just like, what do you get out of this? And is it healthy? Is it helping you? Like, why are we doing this? And you're like,
you're right.
It's fun. And I'm like,
is it actually fun?
I'm trying to find the fun in this part. I don't understand where it is. But then I had to get on TikTok because I had to go see what she was doing. I didn't even have a TikTok account until last week.
You liked my post. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But anyways, have friends that you can vent to.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. And I think you guys will go through this too. Maybe you already are experiencing it. Like people ask you your rate and then they find out what your rate is. And then they're kind of like, well, why are you doing that? Or I've been doing this longer than you, so you shouldn't be able to do that. You know, it's like has nothing to do with what you charge or what you're doing or your skill level. Yeah.
Any other nosy questions, Heather?
I think Jessica, you have a question? Do you? Okay, great. I love your face.
How did you know? That was very intuitive of you. So what I was thinking about is this like desires and desires, I guess. So did you know that you wanted to create foundations and then a mastermind when you started out? Or did you have foundations and then you're like, I think I want to do it? Like, did your desires grow?
Yeah.
And like, how did your wants how did that grow for you?
Okay. So my original goal was like, I heard that you could make $1 million as a life coach. And I was like, well, I want to do that for sure. But before that, I heard you can make $100,000 doing it, you know, and I was like, I definitely want to do that. How am I going to do that? So I started out with just like needing to help people, right, with this mission, getting fully booked, having a 6-figure business as an MFR therapist. And I just started out as a one-on-one coach. So I did a whole year of one-on-one coaching and the demand grew. So then I started a group program that was 12 weeks. So my one-on-one coaching was 12 weeks, $3,000. So then I went to a group 12 weeks, $3,000. And then I was like, okay, I want to make more money. And I didn't know the jump to get there. So I tried raising the rate to 5K and that worked fine. I did like 2 rounds of that. And then I was like, I don't think it's the rate. I think it's the volume that I need to actually grow. So I decided to take all of the content that I had created in my one-on-one program and in the 12-week program and turn it into a 1-year program, because what became really important to me was the client results. And I felt like if I worked with someone for a year, there would be little to no reason why they couldn't be fully booked in that year. Whereas like when they had to make the decision every 12 weeks to renew, that was like a big ask. And also I felt like it could be a barrier because not everybody was willing to like keep going and keep going. So created foundations, have tweaked it while we've been doing it. And I think because I had worked with so many one-on-one clients and I had worked with so many people who had done multiple 12-week programs, I created the mastermind for them so they would feel like there was something for them. Also, though, not knowing that foundations like has so much in it, it is like a mastermind too. Like there's plenty of stuff in there. I think that answers your question, but that's how I got there. And I sold foundations in the mastermind at the same time. And so like I've always just been selling those offers, like selling them together all of the time, but they're separate offers. Does that make sense? Yeah. And this is the 3rd round of the mastermind. I've had to sometimes take time off because I had surgery and I take the summers off and yeah. But the other thing is now we're 18 months into foundations, which it hasn't really been that long.
Since it's been a 12
Since it's been a 12-month. Isn't that crazy?
It's only 18 months.
Yeah. Because I've done 3 rounds of the mastermind, which actually I haven't really taken time off because that would be 18 months too. Yeah. I don't know. Let's not do the math. But this one is just starting. But yeah. So when I think about it, this is my 5th year of business. A lot has happened in 5 years. What's really important to me though is those like people are getting the results from the program promise, like you getting fully booked, making the income and feeling like a CEO in their business. I really want everybody's MFR business to feel like the easiest part of their day and for you guys to all feel like badasses. How do people like find you, Gina? I think we should tell people before we wrap up.
Yeah. I have lots of ways to find me. I have lots of ways to work with me. So I have Small Business Money School is my 12-month program, like your foundations, all things business, finance, making sure your foundation is strong, making sure you're paying yourself, all of the things. And then we have the 7-Figure Wealth Mastermind, which is like your mastermind, right? It's like the next step. We talk about wealth building and making sure you're setting yourself up for retirement and you don't have to work until you die and all of those things, paying off personal debt, personal budgeting, all of that. But you can find me on Instagram at Gina Knox or my podcast, Small Business, Big Money, which, fun fact, Heather came up with a name for that. She was so smart. We were going in circles for months about what we were going to rename it. So thank you, Heather.
No problem.
They can come listen to me there. We have an episode coming out together soon there too. And yeah, hang out with me over on the internet.
Awesome. Yeah. And you'll be coming into my group soon and doing some training.
We always do.
I mean, you're here this whole weekend.
It's
this
true.
is like, I always was telling people before this, I'm like, do you guys realize like Gina is going to be there like for the whole time?
Yeah, I am. I'm here.
It's awesome. It's fun. And I think I love coaching with you because I just think we can just riff off of so many things. And MFR therapists so well, like just, it's so fun that they get to be in your programs too. And even if they're not, they still get the benefit of you being in my program. So.
And I've gotten MFR now. I kind of know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah showed me photos of fascia.
And you didn't throw up?
I didn't. I was like, that's a little gross, but I don't need to see that again. But thank you.
It's so funny to have like a non-MFR therapist involved with us, isn't it? It's like,
I'm also not just a non-MFR therapist. I'm also like the not pain case.
Yeah.
I'm just like
well, you're not like a body worker. You're not a body person. Yeah.
I'm just a girl.
I think we take for granted like how into bodies we are.
Yeah. I'm not into bodies like that.
No. But you're into art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here for the weekend. Thanks for being on the podcast. For everyone joining us today, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I want to remind you that I am holding a free masterclass on February 24th at 2 p.m. Central called Raise Your Rate in 2025 Without Losing All Your Clients. You can register by going to www.themfrcoach.com/rates. You're going to learn how to confidently set and stick to your rates, how to simplify your sessions for better results, and how to sell MFR without feeling weird so you can get fully booked. MFR is not supposed to be a best kept secret. It's time to step into your full power and play big, and I will help you do it. Once you register, we will send you out a replay if you can't make it there live. And to let you know, on February 24th, we will be opening up foundations for you to join. So you can learn how to create demand for MFR, get fully booked on purpose and with purpose, and stop waiting. Start making sure people know who you are and what MFR is. The doors are going to open February 24th. When you join by March 7th, you get a free one-on-one coaching call with me, which is a $500 value and something I've never offered before. So make sure you start by joining that free masterclass. Again, go to www.themfrcoach.com/rates. We'll see you there. I'll see you on another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a minute and rate and review the podcast. I appreciate it. For more information, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The MFR Coach. And check out my website, www.themfrcoach.com, for more information. If you are currently not working 20 hours or less and making 6 figures in your MFR business, I want to help you change that. Make sure you tune into the show and get on my email list so you never miss out on important trainings and information. To be the first to find out when we are enrolling next for my 12-month Business Foundations coaching program, get on that email list at www.themfrcoach.com/join. Inside this program, you'll learn how to raise your rate, overcome objections, and sell MFR. You'll become the MFR therapist that never under-earns and never burns out. It's up to us to make MFR mainstream, and it starts with you and your successful MFR practice. See you next week.